What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with the guy you know as
Gershwan.
and today we're back at it to answer more questions from One Mind Syndicate and another for the greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get those questions first. And that is what T's family Kent has done. He asks, also, if I haven't done the thing, right?
You have not.
If you want to support the channel, if you enjoy listening to us talk about Warhammer 40K, consider supporting us with a super thanks. If you do, ask us anything you want, and we will answer that question in the next episode, and you will be a thumbnail question. So you will be leading the next Greater WAAAGH. And T's family Kent says, in a four-way battle between the armies of the God Emperor of Doom, the Imperium of Man, the armies of the Emperor in Star Wars, and the WAAAGH from Doctor who do you think would win and why? So in other words, what faction can conquer Warhammer 40K?
Yeah, because whenever you think of 40K, I feel like they just come out on top no matter what.
Yeah.
Like they are an oppressive, massive force of just really powerful warriors that are only made for one reason, and that reason is war.
Yeah.
Like the Imperium of Man doesn't just have Space Marines. They have the AdMech, they got the Astra Militarum, the Sisters of Silence, the Sisters of Battle, the Adeptus Custodes, the Titan Legions. Like there is a lot, counting the Legion of the Damned as well, and the Primarchs. Like yeah, they are going to be a tough cookie to crack. Let's go ahead down the line, starting with Star Wars. So I think Star Wars, the Emperor is basically Emperor and Vader, which are pretty powerful. And then you've got a bunch of clone troopers, or I guess you could say just regular stormtroopers, depending on what timeline they're coming from.
And the problem with Star Wars is that I feel like they're just regular humans who care about their lives, whereas within the Imperium, they don't care about their lives. I've been binge watching a lot of Star Wars stuff recently, and each individual stormtrooper, even though you can consider them almost like Imperial Guardsmen, at the end of the day, they're still human and they still want to like survive. There is no like brainwashing from the Imperial Creed. So like for a stormtrooper against Imperial Guardsmen, just Imperial Guardsmen, I think they lost.
Yeah, I mean, you do have lasers against lasers, but then once you bring like the Space Marines aboard, you're
Sisters of Battle.
Sisters of Battle, yeah, they're crumbling. I mean, yeah, Palpatine and Vader can take out a good amount, but I mean, I still don't see them as crazy feats that Vader has, like with the whole Force and the light side and the dark side and everything like that. Like I still think eventually he'll succumb to the forces of the Imperium.
And I think a good point too is that, so for example, so Darth Vader and the Emperor use what we would consider psychic powers, right?
Essentially,
they use the warp, or they use the Force. Within the Imperium, you can have a psyker within an Imperial Guard regiment. Like it's just a thing. So like, imagine troopers with Jedi powers. Like, you can't beat that because that's what a 40K is.
Right. You could even throw in the Jedi and like rebels, and I think they're still not touching the Imperium.
Yeah. The God Emperor of Dune, I think from my understanding, there isn't as many regiments and factions within the Dune universe. There is a lot. It's very 40K-esque, or like 40K is very Dune-like, but
very Dune-like.
But no, I think that because of the sandbox nature of 40K and because of how popular and how expansive the universe has become, I still think that Dune does not stand against the 40K.
Yeah. Just like how, it was said that Dune came first and then 40K stemmed off of it. They basically said 40K is Dune up to 11.
Yeah.
So, 40K got it.
It's like that concept of who's better, Michael Jordan or
LeBron James.
Yeah, and it's always like, well, LeBron James has an advantage because LeBron James is just like he was dialed to 10 because of the fact that he had predecessors that made, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like they set the bar, so he knew where the bar was to overcome it.
Yeah, so 40K is a new bar. And then I don't know too much about the WAAAGH from Doctor Who.
Yeah, I never got into Doctor Who, but I think it's like those robots or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's an unknown to us, but chances are 40K would win.
Because if the Men of Iron couldn't take out humanity during the Golden Age, then they can't take out the Imperium now. Now, if within the question of like who would defeat the Imperium or 40K in general, I do think that when you deal with named, like heavily, like what's it called, plot armored universes, so Marvel, DC, Dragon Ball Z, those types of universes, they have a chance, but because there's plot armor.
Yeah, like when it comes to the point where like you have literal god characters in your universe, like what's 40K gonna do when like, for example, in Dragon Ball Z, Zeno can just hit the button and the whole universe is gone.
Yeah. Also, like it's funny because like so for Endgame, right? There's a giant army that comes out of another dimension that looks very like 40K-esque. Within Guardians of the Galaxy, the same thing. And you could just see like these named characters destroy these like super powerful armies like nothing.
Yeah.
So I do think that in those situations, Marvel, DC, that could take on 40K.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see exactly how much Superman can take from 40K.
Yeah.
Especially when you pit him against like Magnus, knowing that like Superman is weak to like magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be very, very interesting. But I still think like freaking Superman can like fly around the world and like turn back time and stuff. So like.
And then you deal with like the multiverse within the DC and Marvel universe. So like you don't just have one Superman, you have multiple versions of a Superman. You don't have multiple versions of the Emperor. There's only one Emperor.
Right.
And he's your Lord and Savior. Accept him into your heart. Good question. Let's move on to the next one.
This one's by user CF2HQ3LX8C. His question is, if Rylanor was found by the Loyalists instead of the sons of Magnus and Fulgrim, do you think he would still be alive today? So Rylanor the Ancient is a guy that is super loyal to the Emperor. He gave most of his life, and he was interned into the body of a...
Dreadnought?
Yeah, it's the Contemptor Dreadnought. Yeah, it's not just like a regular Dreadnought, so the Contemptor. And throughout his whole life, his only goal is to kill who he believes is the reason for like the heresy and everything, and that's Fulgrim. So he's basically a space marine and turned into a Dreadnought that is valuing everything for the demise of a demigod, essentially, Fulgrim. And he fights, and then he goes down a couple times to the point where Chaos and like the traitors believe him dead, and he always comes back to fight again. But yeah, so basically it's a story of perseverance and dedication to the Emperor. So no matter who found him or where he's at, I think his loyalty will always lie to the Emperor, and unfortunately, because of that, he's always going to end up having the same fate, death.
Dead. Also, it's important to note that he was kind of stuck on that planet.
True.
So, like, yes, he would still be alive, and he just kind of turned on when he saw Fulgrim. But who wouldn't get turned on when they see Fulgrim?
Right.
Well, actually, it wasn't even Fulgrim, right? It was the Thousand Suns dudes.
Yeah, they were there too. But I mean, they're kind of sexy too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Egyptian stuff.
Egyptian themed space marines. It's interesting how like you have all these themes that are like found on Earth, Terra, and they're also found on like other planets.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because it's like influence. Like everybody comes from Terra in the 40K universe. That's a human, and those influences carried over.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's why I wish GW would come out with like a lore tied like Mesoamerica type of faction, which I don't think they do, right? Not even in Necromunda or Kill Team.
Nothing official. The closest thing is like the Slan.
Oh yeah,
like the Seraphon.
Yeah,
from Age of Sigmar.
This next question comes from the big one. Whenever I go to the free clinic to get medication for my scrotal acne, I see tons of cute girls. How can I tell which one has a disease that definitely won't kill me? Well, I mean, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, so you should look at these women as like the potential to make you a better man. And that's what you should strive for within any relationship. You want somebody that's going to be there for you physically, emotionally, and to bring you to the next level. Yeah. Even if it means giving you gonorrhea.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Magic Eye 117. How does someone become a tech priest? Does one go to the local Omnissiah church and say, "Hello, I would like to be a tech priest"? Same thing as to how someone becomes a space marine. Do they just get picked out?
So two very different things. The first one is for tech priest, it's almost what's the bureaucratic system of any type of corrupt government. You need to know somebody who's in the Adeptus Mechanicus, and it's a priesthood, right? So like a family of nobility will put their kid through like training, and they'll be part of the Adeptus Mechanicus. A lowborn or like underhiver will not become Adeptus Mechanicus.
There's like zero chance for that to happen.
They'll become Scutari, which are basically just lobotomized. Well, they're servitors.
They're
basically.
servitors to the next level.
Yeah. And then for the Space Marines is the complete opposite. So Space Marines are tried and tested.
Usually, like for example, on Fenris, it's going to be like a warrior that has proven himself to go up to the fortress monastery, fighting against all the flora and fauna of the world that's trying to kill you, making it up there, and then they'll say, yes, you're going to be able to take the next step. And usually it involves psychic interrogation, gene seed implantation, which what is it, like 99% of the applicants die.
Yeah, a good portion of them die.
Yeah, so very few actually become Space Marines. And then even then, they're like Space Marine initiates or noviates.
I think it's like acolytes and then
There
neophytes.
you go. Yeah. So it's like even like the classic Space Marine you think of isn't the first step. There's a few before you get to that point.
Yeah, but the key is to stand out and make yourself like known to the what are they called, chaplains of a chapter, and the chaplain will then like begin the indoctrination process and basically just becoming a Space Marine. And you did say like you have to be adolescent, right?
So I didn't say that, but yes, usually it's got to be a prepubescent or early pubescent boy. Very rarely do men actually become Space Marines, but we do see that with like Luther for the Dark Angels, etc.
Yeah, so like between I think the ages of 9 and 16 is suitable. So like the kid from the Alabama Riverboat Brawl, I'm pretty sure some chaplains are looking at him and be like, you swam from the boat to then you, so he's probably going to be a Space Marine soon.
Yeah, and then it's not just humans either. Like there are some like Death Guard people that are like technically mutants.
Yeah.
Who survive the implantation process, which is crazy. But yeah, very rarely does that happen.
Yeah. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening, and we'll talk tomorrow.
That's right. As always, it's the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.